right. Well, hello, and welcome to my presentation. And if you guys can take a wild guess at what we'll be discussing tonight, it will be recycling. So how many of us like to do recycling, or how many of us actually recycle?
Me.
Yep. So it is one of these things that I'm passionate about, only because of the fact that we don't do enough. So some of the items that we do is we recycle aluminum, plastic, metals, and electronics. So these are some of the bigger items, and of course, you know, we can all do our part by doing so. So aluminum, let's talk about aluminum. How many of you know that aluminum can be recycled? Yep, okay. Well, half of the aluminum that we actually use is only half of it is recycled. So there's 105 million cans a year that only get recycled. And when those are recycled, we can actually make 70,000 Boeing 747 or 37s. Wow. So can you imagine if we were to recycle the double, how many we can actually make or build? That's amazing, isn't it? So energy. By recycling, we also save energy. And it has been stated that 4.4 million European homes can be actually powered when we save. So, and that's only half. So imagine if we were to double that, how many homes can actually be powered? Aluminum can also, by recycling aluminum, we can then avoid having to do new mining. So when we avoid new mining, we actually are saving in having to mine for bauxite ore. So that's one of the things that we can save. One of the things that I'm not sure if you guys knew or not is that when we recycle aluminum, it never loses its quality.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so aluminum can be recycled for years, many years, and it will never lose its quality. Plastics. I know this has been a very hot topic, especially on the news. I'm not sure if you guys have actually watched the news or anything, but it's actually have come up a lot more frequently, and I'm not sure if this is a lot of cities are doing a lot of changes to the way that stores are doing plastics or selling plastics. So when we recycle plastics, we actually save in energy. We will use 88% less energy when we recycle. So as you can imagine, that would be 1 billion gallons of oil that we would also save, which then also equates to 44 million cubic yards of landfill that we would save. So by recycling, we avoid having to use this much more. So there's many communities that are next to landfills, so you can imagine that the soil and everything around it is just not as great quality. So I know I wouldn't want to live next to a landfill.
No thanks.
Yeah. Options. Well, what are some of our options to using other than plastic? Well, you can use aluminum, because I just said earlier, aluminum doesn't lose its quality. Whereas plastic, well, it takes more energy and it's plastic. Or glass. Now, how many of you actually like your water bottles?
I do. Me too.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but in those regular bottled water, you're only drinking 4 cents worth of water.
In like a $2 bottle, it's only 4 cents.
Yeah, only 4 cents.
That's crazy.
That is. So, right. So instead of having to buy it, get a reusable container and just fill up it from your tap water. So it's a shame, but that's what we all tend to do. Another thing that we can actually recycle is metals. So I'm sure many of us throw a lot of things that have metal in it. So, and metals are actually, they have different specific properties, so they can actually be recycled as well. So that's one of the good things, that be mindful when you're throwing something out, it can be recycled, okay? So recycling 1 ton of steel avoids 2,500 pounds of iron ore. That's a lot. So that's new iron ore.
That we're having to mine.
Right.
Okay.
So we avoid having to do that. Plus 1,400 pounds of coal.
Wow.
And 120 pounds of limestone. So all those three can be avoided by recycling the metals. So, what's a good fact about metals? Well, scrap metals have been recycled for thousands of years because it has been long recognized as a more efficient process than mining and processing new ore. So like I said earlier, the more we recycle, we avoid having to produce the new one. Electronics. So I hate to say it, but as Americans, we are the worst at this. So we actually produce 4.4 tons or million tons of waste when it comes to electronics. So recycling 1 million laptops, we can save energy used to provide electricity to 3,600 US homes a year. So that's amazing. Imagine how many people can actually benefit from that. Electronics also, for every 1 million cell phones, the EPA states that 35,000 pounds of copper, 800 pounds of silver, 75 pounds of gold, and 33 pounds of palladium can be recovered, which means that we can save that. So it's not used, it's not new materials used. And for those of you that didn't know about palladium, because I sure didn't, was that it's a precious metal that's used for making electrical contact, as well as surgical instruments. And of course, we all, at some point, that comes in handy, especially for surgeries.
And I'll just take the gold.
And you'll just get the gold. Okay. So what does that translate to the environment? Well, environment. That means that 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic debris in the ocean. That's a lot. I can't even phantom that. That means that 269,000 pounds float on the surface, but 4 billion plastic microfibers per square foot or kilometers of litter in the deep sea. So the fish and all the live animals are actually consuming this.
Taking it.
Those poor
Yes, they're
whales.
consuming this. So that means that 100,000 marine creatures a year die from the plastic, and they get entangled. What does that translate to the land animals? Well, 100,000 mammals and birds die. 180 species of animals in just plastic debris. And plastic produces biological effects in the wildlife, including humans. So, like I said earlier, if the animals are eating the plastic and some of these animals are being consumed by us, guess who's eating the plastic too?
We are.
Exactly.
That's terrible.
That's why sometimes I want to go vegan.
Yep, well, even that,
I've
right?
been thinking about it for the longest.
So, here are some websites that you can go and explore some additional information. And I would encourage everybody to do it. I'm a big recycler. We like to do it at our house. I've encouraged most of my friends to do it. So let's start recycling.